Good evening and welcome to the 1164th regular meeting and public hearing of Livonia City Planning Commission. I wish to inform all interested persons in the audience that for petitions on tonight's agenda, which involve a question of zoning, the Planning Commission will make a recommendation to the City Council, and the City Council, after holding their own public hearing, will make the final determination as to whether a petition is approved or denied. The Planning Commission holds the only public hearing on requests for preliminary plats and or vacating petitions. The Commission's recommendation is forwarded to the City Council for the final determination as to whether the petition is accepted or rejected. If a petition requesting a waiver of use or a site plan is denied tonight, the petitioner will have 10 days in which to appeal the decision in writing to the City Council. Resolutions that are adopted by the City Planning Commission will become effective 7 days after the date of adoption. The Planning Commission and professional staff have reviewed each of these petitions upon their filing. Staff has furnished the Commission with both approving and denying resolutions, which the Commission may or may not use depending on the outcome of the proceedings tonight. If our Secretary is ready, please call the roll.
I am ready, and hello, everybody. Mrs. Smiley.
Present.
Mrs. McHugh.
Here.
Mr. Bonjero.
Here.
Mr. Long.
Here.
Ms. Ventura.
Is here.
Chair Mango is also here. Chairman Wilshot
Is here. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Also with us tonight, we have Mark Tormina from our Planning Department, along with Scott Miller and Stephanie Reese and Deborah Walter, also from the planning staff. And we also, of course, have Livonia Television as well, who is helping us broadcast this meeting out to the community. So with that, just a very quick overview that we have one item on our petition, or excuse me, on our agenda tonight, along with approval of minutes, one public hearing. We're going to have that start that item with our planning director, who is going to give background on that item. We'll then ask for the petitioner to join us, and so he can give us more details and we can ask some questions. And then, of course, anyone else in the audience who's listening tonight that would like to speak for or against that petition will have an opportunity to speak as well. So just listen for the prompts as we go along. We're going to prompt our petitioner and the audience members when they can speak, and you'll use the raise hand feature within Zoom to get our attention, and we'll allow you to speak. So with that, we're going to begin with item number 1 on our public hearing agenda. Mr. Secretary?
That is petition 2020-12-01-07, submitted by Tessio Architect, Inc., pursuant to section 23.01 of the City of Livonia zoning ordinance number 543 as amended, requesting to rezone portions of the shopping center property at 19043 through 19053 Middlebelt Road and 29475 through 29493 7 Mile Road, located on the west side of Middlebelt between Clarita and 7 Mile Road in the northeast quarter of section 11 from C1 local business and P parking to C2 general business.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Tormina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, this is a request to rezone a property that is located on the west side of Middlebelt between Clarita and 7 Mile Road. Actually, this property is at the southwest corner of 7 Mile and Middlebelt Roads. The request is to rezone portions of the property that are currently parking and C1 local business to C2 general business. The site, as you can see from the zoning map, is currently divided into 3 zoning classifications. The north half of the shopping center where the building is located is currently zoned C2 general business. That's this area here. And then the south half of the building, as well as a narrow strip that runs along the south end of the property, is currently zoned C1. That's this flag-shaped portion here. And then most of the existing parking lot is zone P, which stands for parking. The proposed changes would place the entire site under the C2 classification. The site of the shopping center is 5.36 acres. And just to familiarize everyone with this map, The site is actually here. It includes all of this building. The area that is being petitioned for rezoning is shown highlighted in yellow, but the site is all of this area. There's a gas station right at the corner of Middle Belt and 7 Mile Roads. A Wendy's restaurant is to the south, and then the Boston Market is positioned near the center of the frontage. Along Middle Belt Road, however, both the Wendy's and Boston Market and the gas station are not part of this site. The building itself is about 56,700 square feet. Most of the available parking, as you can see, is located between the building and Middle Belt Road. The main tenants include Pet Supplies Plus and Planet Fitness. Most recently, a bank ATM kiosk was constructed at the south end of the property. The purpose of the rezoning is to facilitate the development of a new outlot building that would have drive-up or drive-through facilities. So this would be located in the southeast corner of the parking lot. Here's the site plan. Again, here's the building showing the existing tenants as well as the vacancies located there. This is the Boston Market. The Wendy's is to the south, just off the plan. But the outlot building that I just referenced is shown right here on the site. The new building would be located between the Boston Market and the Wendy's. Changing the zoning to C2 is the necessary first step, since the P parking classification currently does not allow buildings or structures. The drive-up operations do require waiver use approval, so regardless of what happens this evening on the rezoning petition, this would have to come back for further review for the restaurant impacts on parking, traffic, etc. A little bit of background about the site. The new and the proposal, this new building would occupy an area that measures about 104 feet by 145 feet. The center currently contains about 302 parking spaces. With the addition of this 2,000 square foot building, that would increase the required parking to 313 spaces. Currently, there are about 307 spaces available. So there's a slight surplus today, but with the construction of this building, with the additional parking that's required, and with the displacement of the approximate 50 parking spaces that would occur, this would drop the number of available parking spaces down to 272 and would result in a deficiency of 42 parking spaces. The future land use plan of the city shows the area as part of a mixed development center that includes all of the four corners of 7 Mile and Middle Belt. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to read out the correspondence at this time.
Yes, please.
First item is a letter from our engineering division. It's dated December 23rd, and it reads, in accordance with your request, the engineering division has reviewed the above referenced petition. We have no objections to the proposed rezoning at this time. The property associated with the project is assigned the address ranges of 19043 through 19053 Middle Belt Road and 29475 through 29493 7 Mile Road, with the address of 19043 Middle Belt being assigned to the overall parcel. The legal descriptions included on the plan submitted by the owner appear to be correctly describe the property, but it shows the parcel as being divided into 3 pieces, which is not correct. Although the descriptions provided can be used to describe the parcel, the owner should provide a description for the parcel which describes it as a single combined parcel. There are no descriptions provided for the current or proposed zoning areas. The proposed development is currently serviced by public water main, storm, and sanitary sewers, and the submitted drawings do not indicate any changes to the existing services. Should the owner wish to construct the outlot building as shown on the drawings, they should contact this office to discuss new service connections and stormwater requirements. The sanitary sewer located on the parcel is privately owned, and any new connections may require additional easements and upgrades to the system to accept it as a publicly owned. Also, any proposed construction will be required to meet the Wayne County Stormwater Ordinance, including detention requirements. And that letter is signed by David Lear, Assistant City Engineer. Next, we have a letter from the Department of Finance dated December 15th, indicating that they have no objection that there are no past due amounts receivable. However, there are water bills of $8.50 and $68.34 currently due on January 11th. And that letter is signed by Connie Cumpula, Chief Accountant. Next is a letter of no objection coming from the Office of Treasurer dated December 15th. And that letter is signed by Linda Shield, Treasurer of the City of Livonia. We have two other items of correspondence. These are in the form of emails. The first is from a Janet Douglas dated January 25th. And her email reads, "Good afternoon. What is the process for getting a comment to the Planning Commission? It is in regards to Tuesday night's meeting. Can my email be forwarded to all the commissioners for consideration ahead of time? Comment. I have a comment regarding the rezoning at 7 in Middle Belt, which I believe will be discussed Tuesday. I got an email about it. Is the rezoning in alignment with the master plan? I believe that Book 2 and the Book 4 of Master Plan are the most relevant to this rezoning. The former Livonia Mall is a special planning area. The adopted plan's vision for the site is a mixed-use development. See pages 33 through 36 of Book 2. Implementation of this plan requires the development of a new form-based zoning district. I do not see a mixed development district or something like it in the current Livonia zoning code as an option, though I might have missed it. C1 and C2 don't allow for the vibrant vision that has been adopted for this area. I am looking mainly at pages 33 through 36 in Livonia Vision 21, Book 2, and pages 17 and 18 in Livonia Vision 21, Book 4. Implementation questions for the Commission. Has the city begun creating a new zoning district for the special planning areas? If not, is it in the budget for 2021 or on the agenda this year? Is this current rezoning in alignment with the master plan? Does it legally allow for housing and commercial mixed use, pedestrian-friendly development? Book 2, page 36, page 1. Will the rezoning legally allow for greater walkability and connectivity with the adjacent neighborhoods? Book 2, page 36.3. If not, should the city rezone in such a way that is not heading towards the implementation of the future land use plan? The zoning ordinance is the primary regulatory tool for the city to implement the land use mapping element of the Livonia Vision 21 plan. Carolyn, that is from Carolyn, a Livonia resident. Would love to speak at the meeting or send in information ahead of time to consider. If my email above can be read publicly, that would be great. Please advise regarding the proper procedure. Thanks. Second email is from a Gabe Shuckman, Managing Director of Allrig USA. This letter is dated January 7th, and it reads, to whom it may concern, this letter is to provide support for the property owner, Ford Road Ventures LLC, in their petition submitted by Tizio Architects, requesting to rezone portions of their shopping center at 19043 through 19053 Middle Belt Road and 29475 through 29493 Middle Belt Road. Public hearing taking place on Tuesday, January 26, 2021 at 7 p.m. As the neighboring property owner of the Smoothie King Center, I feel that the rezoning will be advantageous to the intersection and area, and any new businesses that will be brought to the city of Livonia as a result of this rezoning will benefit the community. Sincerely, Gabe Shuckman, Allrig USA. And Mr. Chairman, that is the extent of the correspondence received by the Planning Department.
All right, thank you, Mr. Toromina. Is there any questions of the Planning Commission for our planning staff? If not, if our petitioner is in the audience, please click raise hand and we can make sure that you're recognized. Also, if you're a phone-in user, I think you can click *9 to raise your hand. And we have Mr. Tissio, and we have Mr. Denha, which is the property owner. We'll give you an opportunity to introduce yourselves. I guess we'll start with you, Mr. Tissio.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
We hear you.
Okay, good. Thank you again. As you know, we're here to seek a rezoning for the property. So it is conforming with all the adjoining properties. Right now, just about all the properties that touch this are zoned as a C2, as well as the Sears plot across the street and even other properties across Middle Belt Road. I know that there's been some discussion from the city about even dropping the P zoning from this ordinance. I don't know how far that has gotten as far as the discussion, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Again, we're here for just a rezoning. I know there's going to be some site plan issues that will need to be addressed, but you can rest assured that we will address them if we go through with this and it's approved. We will be back addressing a lot of the site plan approval issues that I'm sure some of you have been thinking about, such as landscaping and how do we maneuver the site for the drive-up window on the end cap. So again, I'm here if you have any questions, and we'd appreciate any comments.
All right, thank you, Mr. Tissio. And it's a good segue to remind, of course, everyone in our audience that we are looking at a rezoning for this property tonight. And the question before us for this evening is this an appropriate change of zoning for this site? There's not going to be a tremendous amount of discussion about the site plan and the details of the site, because that would come before us in another section after the zoning has been either approved or rejected. Also, Mr. Denha is with us. Good evening. You're the property owner. Is there any comments that you wanted to make?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, everybody. I'll keep it brief. This rezoning petition is really helpful for the long-term viability of this property. Since I've bought this property, probably I think in 2014 or 15, and thus remodeled it. So I asked the commission to take that into consideration. As you know, we've tried really hard to lease the space in the present state. So this petition to rezone will really help fill that center up and create some more activity in the center in a nice, harmonious way as we, get through this petition, thus leading to the site plan, et cetera. So I look to you guys' help for this, and we're here to answer your questions and go from there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Denha. I'll go to the commission and see if there's anyone on the commission with any questions for our petitioner and their representatives.
Chair?
Yes, Ms. Smiley.
Yes, to the Mr. Tissio and to Mr. Denny, have you thought of any mixed use that if that is what the future land use is set for this property? Any mixed uses in there, or tried to find something like that?
This is Mr. Denha. At this time, we have not. Our efforts have been channeled towards getting the holes filled, for lack of a better word. But I think, as I maybe have mentioned in the previous meeting, but irrespective of that, it really hasn't gone far, because the end cap of this center is probably one of the deepest part of the center, so presents a little bit of challenge. So thus, we're going towards the drive-through and the petition we have in front. But no, we have not looked at a mixed use right now.
Okay, thank you. Thank
Yes,
you,
ma'am.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Smiley. Any other questions for our petitioner?
Chairman.
Mr. Ventura.
Mr. Denha, can you remind us why you think that building another outlot building on the Middlebelt Road frontage is not going to create a hardship when you go to try and lease the buildings that will be, hidden behind it in the shopping center itself?
Mr. Ventura, so I think we talked about this briefly last week, and what I'll say to that is the building is positioned in front of the tenant, mostly currently the WIG tenant, and partially to the inline space directly to the south of the WIG. And the current signage I have in the building, the traffic that outlet will bring, the current 2 pylon signs I have for any tenant that is mildly blocked will definitely outweigh the benefits of having that outlet as opposed to some minor blockages there. And my big box tenants will not be impacted by this at all, and they'll be in good shape.
Mr. Ventura, you're muted.
Thank you, Mr. Denha, and thank you, Mr. Wilshaw.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Ventura. Any other questions for our petitioner from the commission? If not, I'll go to the audience. Mr. Tormina.
Actually, if going to the audience first, I was going to answer some of the questions that were posed in the correspondence from Carolyn. I misspoke when I said it was from Janet Douglas, that she actually works for the clerk's office. That email was from a Carolyn F. So I'll wait until after audience communication. Maybe she or a representative is here that can answer those, but I'd like to respond to some of those questions.
Oh, I appreciate that, Mr. Tormina. She did ask some good questions, and it would be good to have those responses on the record. So we'll go to the audience. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this petition can click raise hand. We do have one person so far. We're going to acknowledge, and this is Mrs. I believe it's Mrs. Faulkner, Mrs. or Mr. Faulkner.
Yes. Hello?
Yes, hi, we hear you.
Oh, hi. Yeah, this is Carolyn talking. Same person from the email.
Oh, perfect.
And I just, I know that this rezoning is kind of bringing everything in line with what's mostly there, which is C2. So I guess my question is, as I said, are we going to create a new code so that developers could do more mixed use? If they wanted to. I used to live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we had a shopping area kind of, not too different than this area. And the whole area was redone to where we had cafes, sidewalks, parks. It just looked completely different, and obviously that's a large project. That's kind of what I was seeing in the Livonia Vision Plan. But I don't think our current zoning code would even allow that if a developer came and wanted to do that. So my question isn't really for the developer as much as, for the plans of developing maybe a new zoning district for the special planning areas.
Yeah, so you're gonna hear from Mr. Tormina, who'll address that a little bit in more detail, but I'll steal a bit of his thunder in saying that we just got that Vision 21 master plan adopted here. We spent a lot of time working on it this past couple of years, and we're currently working on reviewing and revising our zoning ordinances to align with that. So you will see here in the not too distant future some of those zoning types that will allow for this plan to be able to really flourish in its full potential. But it's still a work in progress, just to quickly answer that question, but we do appreciate that. Is there anyone else in our audience wishing to speak for or against this petition? If so, please click raise hand. We do have one phone in user. You can dial *9 to raise your hand if you would like to speak as well. I don't see anyone else in our audience raising their hands. So, Mr. Tormina, I guess it's your turn.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And Carolyn, in response to your question, so as the chairman mentioned, the Planning Commission is in the very early stages of reviewing a new zoning ordinance. This is an ordinance that would replace what we currently have with the intention of being in line with the master plan, Livonia Vision 21. The zoning ordinance is actually phase 2 of this process. It's a considerable effort. It's probably several months before there will be any action on the new zoning ordinance. It does embody a form-based element, which would be available to this property as well as to any properties in the area and many others throughout the city. And your question regarding whether or not this rezoning is in line with the master plan, well, it is not inconsistent with the master plan. And the reason for that is that the C2 zoning, or any zoning for that matter, non-residential, can be used as through a planned development special use opportunity. So there's nothing that prevents this developer from taking advantage of our planned unit development district guidelines that we presently have in the ordinance and being able to develop this as a mixed-use development. It's not what is currently before us right now. This is a zoning to C2, but again, circumstances should change, and they wanted to introduce a mixed-use element to this project. The C2 zoning by itself would not prohibit that. It would just, there would be a little bit different mechanism to go through that process. We're going to make it, I believe, much easier once the new ordinance is adopted. So hopefully that helps answer your question.
Thank you, Mr. Taormina. We'll give our resident an opportunity to respond if there's any other questions she has.
Oh, no, that's great. I'm happy to hear that, the new code is at least in the works, even if it's early stages.
Yes, a lot of work goes into making a change. In fact, our zoning ordinance hasn't ever gone through such a comprehensive review as we're going through right now. So it's going to be quite a major change.
Okay.
And I think it'll set us up for the future.
That's exciting. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming tonight. And is there anyone else in the audience wishing to speak for or against this item? If so, please click raise hand. Again, I don't see anyone else. Mr. Tissio, is there anything else that you would like to add before we make our decision?
No, I'm fine with what I've heard tonight. So again, we hope we get your support so we can move forward with this exciting project. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Tissio. If there is no further questions from either our petitioner or the commission regarding this item, I can close the public hearing. And a motion would be in order.
Mr. Chair,
Mrs. McHugh.
I'd like to offer an approving resolution that the request to rezone portions of the Mid-7 Plaza Shopping Center property at 19043 through 19053 Middlebelt Road from C1 and P to C2 is hereby approved, subject to City Council approval for the following reasons. Number one, that a change of zoning C2 general business is compatible to and in harmony with the surrounding land uses and zoning districts in the area. Number two, that the proposed change of the zoning would provide opportunities for a greater variety of uses to serve the area as well as the city as a whole. Number three, that the proposed change of zoning is consistent with the developing character of the surrounding neighborhood. Number four, that the proposed change of zoning represents a reasonable and logical zoning plan for the subject property, which adheres to the principles of sound land use planning. And number five, that the proposed change of zoning is supported by the recently adopted future land use map for Livonia Vision 21, shows the subject area of the rezoning as mixed development center.
Okay, is there support for that motion?
Support. Oh,
I heard Mrs. Smiley first, so we're going to say that there's a motion to approve the rezoning request by Mrs. McHugh, supported by Mrs. Smiley. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? If there's no discussion, we'll go to the secretary to call the roll.
Mrs. McHugh,
Aye.
Mrs. Smiley,
aye.
Mr. Bonjero,
Aye.
Mr. Long,
Aye.
Ms. Ventura.
Aye.
Chair Magno votes aye. Chairman Wilshaw.
Votes aye, motion passes, and we'll go on to City Council with an approving recommendation. We will see you gentlemen, Mr. Tissio and Mr. Denha, back for the site plan after that process.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. I appreciate your time and consideration.
All right, you're welcome, and thank you for coming tonight.
Thank
With
you.
that,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, everybody.
you're welcome. That takes care of the public hearing section of our agenda. We only have one other item on our agenda. Mr. Secretary?
That is the approval of the minutes of the 1,163rd public hearing and regular meeting held by this planning commission on December 15th, 2020.
And looking at the notes, it appears that all members were present. Is there a motion to approve?
I move we approve.
Okay, by Mrs. Smiley and support by
Support.
Mr. Long. We have a motion to approve our minutes. Is there any objection to showing 7 to approve minutes for our previous meeting? If so, anyone can speak up. I don't see anyone objecting, so we can show 7, I think, safely in support of that motion. That takes us to the end of our agenda. Is there any other business to come before the commission this evening? Hearing none, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Ventura, supported by
Or
Mrs. McHugh. Is there any discussion on our motion to adjourn? I don't think so. And if there's any objection, I don't see any objections. I think we can safely show 7 on that motion to adjourn as well, Mr. Caramagno. Thank you.
They're counted.
Got it. All right, good. Well, that's our evening, or our meeting, excuse me, for this evening. I do want to thank Livonia Television staff for contributing to this meeting and helping bring it to the community. I also want to thank our planning staff for attending and helping us as well with this meeting. So with no further business to come before the commission, I'm going to mark this meeting adjourned at 7:32 p.m. and wish everyone in Livonia a safe month and a good night. Thank you.